Hey, what's going on, guys? I finally got the hyperminting video ready for everybody. It's kind of been like the dragons in Game of Thrones. They're coming. They're coming. The hyperminting data is coming. We've got it. What I have to say to everybody is the amount of energy, effort, money, resources spent on acquiring all of this data is priceless at this stage. There isn't a value you can really put on it. There's been so many efforts made behind the scenes to really get us to where we are now. And you're probably thinking, cool, Jay sounds a little bit upbeat today. What's going on? Go back and watch my previous videos. Okay, everything that I have said to everybody that I was going to do, I have done it. Go back, watch the last video, and yes, I have done it. So you can come to whatever conclusion you want to come to, but yes, that is exactly what is going to be going down. I'm not going to be speaking about it anymore until after the matter has happened, it's gone down, and it's done, and it's dusted. So what we need to understand is everything has been derived from Trial Exhibit P301. If it wasn't for the rigorous prosecution team during the civil case, we simply wouldn't have had the data that is available now. So it all stems, it's like a tree that's been grown from simply planting a seed, which was Trial Exhibit P301. We've got to a point where we've actually been able to produce data that is useful, it's conclusive, and it's probably going to lead to a substantial burn in the future. Yes, all from Trial Exhibit P301 and a dedicated validator pushing it all along behind the scenes. So what I'm actually doing now is chasing down all of the hyperminting. I'm locating where all of the funds went after the crash, what was minted, what was the destination, and realistically begin that elimination process that we've done many times here before on the channel. And the idea is to figure out how much of those coins on Binance belong to users. We know how much possibly belongs to TFL. We've eliminated that. So now if we eliminate how much actually belongs to the user base, we can figure out exactly how much belongs to Binance. And again, this has all been doable because of Trial Exhibit P301 and the rigorous work and energy and effort that we've put into all of this behind the scenes. So what I've been doing is cross-referencing data in regards to the Binance all-time transaction log from TFL. And what we're actually doing is now macro searching within this data, and we're using it alongside another session. And what we're trying to figure out, like I just said, is what, when, where. And it's really interesting because it's not hard to figure all of this out with the right tools that are readily available. So I'm going to bring up the session for hyperminting, and I mean this thing is huge. When I say it's huge, I'm going to scroll a little bit. You can see the scroller on the right hand side. It is barely moving. I mean, barely moving the needle. This data is overwhelming to say the least, and this accounts for every single damn coin that was minted, period. There is not a coin missing at this point that we do not know about. We have every wallet, we have every destination, and because we have that right, we can get these people's memos. We can actually cross-reference those memos with recent memos that have also been used, because people do slip up over time, and I really do believe I'm getting close to something big. And when I say big, I mean really big, because we've narrowed our search window down to a very, very small grid due to how long the hyperminting actually went on. So with that data that you just saw, I'm able to look at some of the top minters during that time, which is really interesting because this was done in a manner where somebody essentially pushed the cup a little bit and got it to effectively start pouring a little bit of water out, and then everybody else did the rest. The crash itself was caused by, I think, around 1 trillion coins, yet the amount minted, it's far more, right? So the crash itself is actually caused by a very, very small number of wallets, which brings up the money flow tools that we've created and designed. Some people call this bubble maps. I like to call it money flow. Now, looking in at this wallet, we can see that, yeah, there was a significant amount sent from this wallet specifically, okay, being 728 billion LUNC, and this was all sent to the shuttle bridge, right? So at no point during the hyperminting was there an effort made to shut down the area, effectively put a quarantine in and prevent any funds from leaving the ecosystem themselves, because then TFL would have been able to assess the damage to the situation far easier. What this first wallet tells me is this is likely the person who caused the crash. Around 728 billion coins, and this one wallet was effectively bleeding the chain dry through Shuttle Bridge. And again, I have to emphasize this, TFL made zero efforts to shut down that bridge. Looking at that second top minter, we can see 201 billion LUNC was minted, and then that was sent directly to KuCoin deposit. And I have to emphasize this, there was zero efforts made by TFL, by CEXs, by anyone that really could have got a handle on the situation, there was no effort made. They were allowing coins to be minted, they were allowing it to continue, and they were allowing the system to be bled dry. Because as I've shown on this channel before, TFL give up on the idea of the original chain, I think, in a matter of days, and they're already planning Luna 2.0. You need to understand, when they started planning Luna 2.0, this was all about killing Luna Classic. This was all about preventing people from using that original chain, hanging onto it, clinging onto it. So yes, I do believe TFL in some capacity attributed to the hyperminting, to the crash, to everything, and the CEXs are just as bad. So what we want to do is flick over now to the third top wallet for hyperminting, around 200 billion minted, as you can see, sending just over 200 billion LUNC to Binance. And this is where things get really interesting, and the fact that there's a secret plan that Binance got, supposedly, I know from where I'm at with the data right now that this isn't true, and that the majority of these assets that are on Binance belong split between TFL and users. I know this because I'm going through the process of explaining it all to you. I can't just pick you up and run at 1,000,000 miles per hour. You'll be like a tortoise getting on a bullet train, if you will. This is the fourth top minter, and this is where it gets very peculiar for someone like you, because you're saying to yourself, well, how is this wallet a top minter, yet it's showing absolutely nothing? What we know is from the civil case, TFL had the means and ability to fake transactions, and we still to this very day do not know how they did it. And this is where 05V8 gets really interesting as a wallet, because essentially this thing isn't registering anything like it should be, in the same way that Binance wasn't registering that 3 billion USTC during the timeline when it should be registering. And this is where there's these huge gaps in the overall system, in the data. And what this tells me is there's foul play. Throughout the process of this whole thing, someone was an inside man. And the reason why we know there's an inside man, and a lot of people have forgotten this, TFL, the entire team, was in flight. So the crash happens when they are all in flight, on a long haul flight where they can do absolutely nothing but sit there, panic, and watch this whole thing go down. So the damage control was near to zero at the beginning. So someone had the knowledge, right, to essentially weaponize everything that was needed to cause this crash. What I want to do right now is go on to another top minter, and this one's crazy. 168 billion LUNC was minted, and then what it did was it sent the majority of it, you guessed it, to the Binance hot wallet. So we see a deposit, and then we see a final ending at the Binance hot wallet. And this starts to corroborate with the data that we do have available on Binance, and starts to build up a bigger picture that, oh, hang on a minute, it doesn't belong to Binance, it actually belongs to users. And this is where it just becomes overwhelmingly unusual, because the more we dig, the more of these assets we begin to find. Although there's small amounts going around, right? Some of these were related to smart contracts. So this wallet, again, is one of those top minting wallets. It's an arbitrage trading contract, but it's not registering what it should be registering. We have so many blips in the data like this. It's unbelievable. We can look at so many of these wallets, right, that were part of the minting process. This is one that's really up there in the top 10, so to speak. 145 billion, that was minted. And then, sent to KuCoin deposit wallet. And I do believe, right, that a lot of these assets are ghost assets, if you will. They devalued so quickly that at the time, the person who probably owned them had already made so much money from the crash that these coins were just worthless. They wrote them off, and the likelihood is, they burned the seeds. Now, if I had committed these crimes and I had done all of these different things, I would want to cover my track. And in DeFi, you simply need to torch your seeds. It's that simple. Now, taking a look at another one of these top 10 minters during the crash, and everything we're looking at is in a very small window. You're talking like 5 days. And all of these coins being minted during that time of the hyperminting phase itself. So 144 billion was minted by this wallet and then sent to the Binance deposit wallet. So again, right, during this video, I've already accounted for nearly 1 trillion of the LUNC coins that are on Binance, not belonging to them, not belonging to TFL, but actually belonging to users themselves. So what does this tell you? Well, at least 1 trillion of those coins are not going to be used for some kind of secret plan that Binance has got going. You know, it's hilarious at this point. I have to laugh. It's all I can do to really get myself through this. So going back to that unusual wallet that I was explaining, the fact that it's a smart contract and it was being used in a very unusual way. 05 VA is something that I'm looking in deeper and deeper each and every day because it holds a lot of secrets. Someone created the smart contracts, the thing itself, right? There's a signature on this. And when you're in the developer side of things and in the real world, artists sign their work. You yourself will sign a check or whatever, wherever you've got to use your signature. Developers do the same thing. They do things in certain ways. You can actually figure out where a developer's from, depending on how they're coding and how they're writing things. So again, although this wallet's not registering anything, it was adding to the crash, and it was every single, as you can see, every single second. It's not even waiting a minute apart. These are going in seconds. 22, 58, 21, 15, 38, 25, 44. You see how quickly and rapidly this thing is just essentially, right, working an arbitrage situation, adding to the crash, minting coins, because that's how the mint to burn mechanism worked. It was completely out of balance. TFO were in flight, and people like this, right, who wrote this contract, merely jumped in on an opportunity. The other wallets that I showed you here, which are up in the billions, right, that's a different story, a completely different story, because those wallets, I do believe, are responsible for the crash. We need to understand it was a cup, and it was full to the brim. These first initial wallets probably minted about 1 trillion coins between them, yeah? And that was essentially the tipping point. And then everybody else finding out about this arbitrage opportunity, about the bets, about the available gains you could go and make. Well, everybody tried to do it. And then you need to understand all of the people getting wrecked were also trying to do it. You yourself were probably trying to do it. And that's why you now hold LUNC, right? You trying to buy at the bottom. You're trying to get those crazy gains when it was moving tens of thousands of percent. There's a lot to go through here. It's not easy for me to break all of this down. I'm just going to have to do it in drips and drabs. Now we know about all of these wallets, what was hyperminted, where it went. We can start to figure out, like I was saying at the beginning, what belongs to Binance, what belongs to users, and I've already figured out what belongs to TFL. I even have the approximate remaining number at this point, and that's the video I'm working on next. So keep an eye out for that one. Today's been a crazy day. That's what I can say to everybody. A lot's been going on, and a lot is going to be happening tomorrow during the sentencing. So keep an eye out for that. It's going to be interesting, my friends. Stay safe, stay humble, stay aware, and I'll catch you on the flippity flop.